Well, today's episode is going to be a little interesting. Now, Mondays we normally have when we have AEW Dark Elevation, I review it, but since that doesn't exist, I decided to do something different. Now, I'm going to review two recent events before Flashing Champions and New Blood 8 by Stardom. They did some shows in Koriyama on the 19th of May, and of course, Sanjo on the 20th of May. So this is leading up to that. There's some good matches we definitely going to be talking about, and of course, we'll be ending our reviews with Night 2 of NWA's Crockett Cup. So who will walk out as this year's winners of the Crockett Cup? And then, of course, we got a couple of news updates to tell what's been going on in the world pro wrestling, of any news updates on matches, promotions, and whatnot. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with Stardom within Koriyama. This took place on the 19th of May. That we're in June right now. I did not see this particular show just yet, but I was able to watch it, and I'll give you guys my thoughts and reviews on this one. And now, as I said before, these shows are before um, Flashing Champions, where we witnessed a Double Crown Championship match, the Artist belts, the Goddess belts, High Speed belt, whatever. But let's get started on this one. We have the newcomers Aya Sakura and Hanako teaming up to take on Mei Seta and Suzuki. Now, you probably can guess that this match did fell in the hands of Seta and Suzuki due to the fact of their experience as pro wrestlers. But as you know, we expected with Sakura and Hanako to lose this match due to the fact of their not. They still have a long way to go to build up their experience, to build up their tradecraft and whatnot. It was, of course, the drop kick by Sakura onto, no, by Seta onto Sakura that gave them the victory. Now, our next match, we have a three-way match. We have Yuna Mizumori versus Saki Kashima versus Sayaka Mitani. Now, you probably can guess that this is much of a warm-up for Kashima, since she will be challenging for the high-speed title that took place at Flashing Champions. It kind of did, because she actually pulled off the Kishikase onto Yuna Mizumori in order to pick up the win. Our next match, we have Oedo Tai's Ruka and Starlight Kid taking on Queen's Quest Miyu Amasaki and Azumi. Now, as we always seen when these two teams are facing off, we know that Oedo Tai and Queen's Quest are two of the oldest factions within Stardom. But however, how this will affect it. Now, we know that these ladies can pull off some good moves here. But here in this one, it was Ruka with the running powerbomb onto, who was it? On Amasaki to pick up the win. I'm sure that that's the move that she learned from Himeka before she retired. I know that Himeka spoke highly of her on a few occasions, but it worked in her favor. Next up, we got the other members of Oedo Tai, more consistently Momo Watanabe and Natsuko Tora taking on DDM's Maika and Otekla and Maika. Yeah, so basically, as you know, with Oedo Tai, especially when it comes to Momo and Natsuko, they would definitely try to find ways to pick up wins, even if they have to use their tools. I'm talking about that pipe and the bat. But however, this match ended with, of course, Oedo Tai being counted out and giving DDM the win. Now, you probably can say that they could not be satisfied, but it's the only way, because, of course, Oedo Tai has been known to cut the corners without giving a damn in the world what people think. Now, our next match, we have the other members of Queen's Quest, Lady C and Utami Hayashida. They team up to take on Godzai Suri and Ami Sori. Now, around this time, Mirai was taking some time off due to an injury she obtained during the Golden Fight Week, a Golden Week fight tour, from my understanding. But it was basically everything went great. The matches, went pretty well. I kind of figured that somehow Utami Ishida and Suri would clash once again. If you guys remember clearly, it was Suri who defeated Utami Ishida, dethroning her as the Red Belt champion. But in this case, it was in fact, of course, like a thunderbolt by Ami Suri defeating Lady C, and God's Eye won. Next up, we got Meltears, Natsupoi, and Tam Nakano taking on the other members of the EDM, more specifically Oh My Julia, consistent of Mai Sakurai and Julia. Now, as you know, we've seen these two teams have faced off one another many times. They're instant rivals. You probably can guess that this match was going to fall in favor of Meltear, since they are one of the most well popular and well recognized tag teams that we've seen. It was, of course, Tam Nakano with the Tiger Suplex onto Sakurai to pick up the win. However, Sakurai, as you know, has this little ritual saying that she has to speak, because the rules are she cannot be talking while they lose, but she decided to break the rules regardless and do that. Sooner or later, someone's going to kick Sakurai in the face and try to tell her that they don't need to hear that. And trust me, that will happen somehow. I just don't know how. Now, our main event, we have Club Venus, consistent of Mariah May, Xena, Jessie, Waka Tsukiyama, and Mina, taking on all the members of Stars, Saida Hanan, Koguma Azuki, and Mayu Iwatani. Now, this is another good match because, as you know, recently we have seen Mariah May and Koguma getting each other's faces, tried to stop her do the sexy thing every single time. So that also plays out. But I do know that Mayu Iwatani in this particular match, she would be targeted, knowing that someone will try to pin her due to the fact that she's the IWGP the women's champion. That's something that it could be considered as a factor. But in this case, it was Saida who picked up the win onto Waka with the Dena onto her. Now, I think this match was payback from the Golden Week fight tour. If you guys remember, it was Waka who pinned her during that in the opening of the tour. So I'm sure Ida felt good that she got her retribution, but we'll see what happens in the future. So let's move on to the next show of Stardom in Sanjo. Okay, so we continue with Stardom in the town of Sanjo. This one took place on the 20th of May. Now, as I said before, this is one of the few shows they had before they went to for Flashing Champions and New Blood 9. So let's get started to see how it started. Once again, we have the rookies, Aya Sakura and Hanako team up. They take on Lady C and Azumi from Queen's Quest. Now, as always, when it comes to the newcomers, Sakura and Hanako, they're supposed to lose their matches, but of course, it was the double chicken wing by Azumi onto Sakura to pick up the win, forcing Sakura to tap out. Now, this match was a very interesting one. This little rivalry between both Koguma and Mariah May has now kicked into high gear. Basically, as you know, Koguma has a problem with Mariah May because every time she tries to do the pose bend, she adds a little sexy flair into that, and boom, that's how the whole thing started. She's trying to say, nope, no sexy, just like that, the entirety. But nothing was going to stop Mariah May no matter what. But she even took her right to the stage and tried to give Koguma a lap dance, but however, the match ended in a countout. So nobody won in this match. So that's what happens. But who knows? Now, our next match, we have Oedo Tai, consistent of Saki Kashima and Starlight Kid, to take on Mei Seta and Suzuki. Now, you know for a fact that Starlight Kid and Zuzu will try to butt heads again. This is not the first time these two have tangled with each other. Now, I know Starlight Kid, she's always has a fascination towards Zuzu due to the fact of one, they're about the same age, they're from the same generation, and two, because she was once time a protege of Julia and a close friend of her. So that kind of sets it in. But let's see how this one, because we do know that Sita and Kashima, they're both high speedsters in this particular match. But in this case, because of high speed, it was Sita with the rolling star onto Kashima to pick up the win. So that's kind of interesting. However, I don't know how bad this looks for Kashima, knowing that she's was heading away, went on her way to Flashing Champions to become our current high speed champion. You know what I mean? So, but it did not affect her any way possible. Now, our next match, we have Club Venus, Xena and Waka Tsukiyama taking on Queen's Quest, Sai Kamitani, and Utami Ishida, better known as Aphrodite. We know how this match would end because, you know, we have Waka who's still developing her skills, but however, she was still no match for Aphrodite because it was, in fact, Kamitani with the Star Crusher to put her away, giving them the win. Now, this is before before Kamitani and Hayashida were having problems with each other. So we'll get to that at some other point in time. Now, our next match, we have Oedo Tai consisting of Ruka, Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora. They take on Yuna Mizumori, and of course Natsupoi and Tam Nakano of the Cosmic Angels, but also known as Meltear together. This was a very interesting match. Start of the match, start of the entrance. Yuna did not actually did the Kozen dance for some odd reason. Now she was not being questioned by Nanane about her recent activities with Cosmic Angels. Now we'll talk more about that at some other point, but it was very interesting how it is. But however, in this case, it was of course Momo with the Hito Denashi driver onto Mizumori to pick up the win. Now you can say that this is a big loss for Cosmic Angels, yes, but this is only just one loss. There'll be plenty of matches along the way for this year for them. So we'll see what happens then. Our next match, we have Godzai, Suri, and Amisuri taking on Jesse and Mina Shirakawa. You probably can guess that this is going to be a tough match for Club Venus, especially for Mina, who we know has been a strong competitor. But in this case, it was, of course, Suri with the ground type Suzaki onto Jesse to pick up the win. So basically, that was pretty it. Now, our main event is DDMs consistent of Tekla, Mai Sakurai, Maika, and Julia. They take on the members of Stars consistent of Saida, Hanan, Azuki, and Mayu Iwatani. You probably thought this was going to be a big, tough match. However, Saida tried to be the tough girl due to her size against someone like Julia. It didn't do so well for her because she ended up in the glorious driver, and boom, it was over. So DDM walked away with the win and did the little promo, and of course it let the so-called lady to do her thing. But we'll see what happens in the upcoming events. There's still one more event before the Flashing Champions and of course New Blood 8, and of course there's more events that came out afterwards. So hopefully I get to see those as soon as possible. I think that's pretty much it for the Stardom. So let's move on with NWA, the Crockett Cup. Okay, night 2 of NWA's Crockett Cup. Now we only going to feature the um, quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals. But we do have other matches that are taking place. I believe we had the NWA National Heavyweight title on the line. Now it was that title was already defended on night 1. I did not see that one. If you guys want to know, Thrillbilly Silas lost to EC3 for this one, but of course EC3 decided to have a dealer's choice type of match. And of course there's a number 1 contendership for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title with 6 competitors. And I think we do have an interesting matchup taking place. Well, 2 more, I believe. Zion will be in action, and of course we have the NWA World Women's Title on the line. But we'll be doing that exactly from start to finish to get to that. So our first 4 matches involves the Crockett Cup quarterfinals. Now our first match we have those dang clowns, the brothers of Funstruction, Yabo and Rafu, taking on, of course, Mestices Jr. and Octagon Jr. Now this was a very tough battle for the Luchadors, because you know how the clowns are. But however, the clowns were eliminated out of the Crockett Cup thanks to the 450 splash by Octagon Jr. onto Rafu, and boom, it was done just like that. Now our next match, part of the quarterfinals, we have the Mortons versus Knox and Murdoch. Now, however, we have seen the recent attitudes change with the Mortons. However, will this affect anything with the Murdochs and with Murdoch and Knox? I don't know. So that kind of sets out pretty well. But however, it was of course the high low onto Kerry Morton, and of course Knox was the one that picked up the win, giving them the chance to move on to the semifinals along with Octagon and Cece's. Now our next match we have the Immortals, consistent of Kratos and Odison. They seem like a good solid team, but however they faced off against the Midnight Riders. They take on Chris, Adonis, and Tyrus. However, this match was not an easy one apparently. From what happened is Tyrus might have hurt his knee completely, but he did. But it was of course the Master Lock by Adonis onto who was it? Onto Odison to give him the win. But however, this was not going to stop Tyrus to continue on into the Crockett Cup. He looks hurt, but not. He said, "I can do this with one leg or no legs at all." So he's showing his inner toughness. So that's interesting to see from him. Now our last match of the quarterfinals, we have Blunt Force Trauma, Carnage and Damage taking on La Rebellion, our current NWA World Tag Team Champions. I thought this match was going to be very interesting. As you know, La Rebellion has been one of the most strongest and more cohesive teams. But however, somehow it was Blunt Force Trauma with the what was it they call it again? The traumatization onto Mecha Wolf that allowed them to win. However, because of this, there is talk to consideration. They pinned the NWA World Tag Team Champions, so they could face, of course, La Rebellion for a shot of the World Tag Team titles in the future. So that is something that could be put up in their back pocket if that's the case they want to do. So we'll see that when it happens. Until then, but as you know, they will be heading to the semifinals. Now, the NWA National Heavyweight title is defended. EC3 called out his opponent, and it's none other than Tom Latimer. Now, if you guys remember, a while back, EC3 was playing mind games with Latimer and tried to prove a point. However, we know that Latimer can reach to the top. We've seen him, he can do it many times, but because of that, it kind of did not go exactly his way. Apparently, the ref did not see the low blow that was caused by EC3, but later the underhook, I think it was an underhook pile driver that put away the match, giving EC3 the opportunity to retain the national title, and boom, it was done just like that. Now we do get a number 1 contendership for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. We have Jaron Follen, Eric Jackson, PJ Hawks, Gags the Gimp, Flip Gordon, and of course Joe Alonzo. But however, they received a new competitor, became a 7 scramble match on this one for a number 1 contender, and it's none other than the return of Colby Corino. This was unusual, but he was accompanied by Jamie Stanley. Now, it's still unclear what was going on. Even Joe Alonzo was not too pleased with it, but it was a pretty good match from what I saw. But it was Colby Corino with the DDT onto Flip Gordon that picked up the win. But we do know In the past, both Kobe and Kerry has butted heads in the past for that title. Now it seems like things are coming back full circle for both men. So that's going to be interesting to see where they're going to go with it. Now we continue with more of the Crockett Cup matches. We have two of them, which is the semifinals. Our first one, we have Blunt Force Trauma versus Octagon Jr. and Mysticis Jr. This was a tough challenge for the Luchadors, but however, it ended with the traumatization onto, I believe, Octagon. Yeah, on Octagon, and boom, they just go into the finals. And of course, Aaron Stevens, their manager, is pleased with himself. Now, our next match, we have of course the Midnight Riders, Tyrus and Chris Adonis taking on Knox and Murdoch. Now we know that Murdoch has dealt with Tyrus in the past, but however, because of the injury that Tyrus had earlier, it was still unclear. Adonis was on his own until once again the high low put away Adonis and ended like that. However, now they're going to face another big challenge, which is Blunt Force Trauma at the finals. So we'll get to that. Now, our next match, we have Zion facing a guy who has a similar mask, just called Mascot. We just don't know what was going on. Even Jordan Clearwater came out to give support. But however, something just happened. Austin Idol, who is Zion's dad, turned on him. Basically, he whacked him out. The match was called off, saying that Zion cannot continue. But it's still unclear what is going on with Austin Idol. We know that Zion said that he stopped listening to his dad recently, but we don't know exactly what's the extent or who is this masked guy. It kind of resembled like Zion, but we just don't know. We'll find out soon enough. Now, this match, I have to say, is kind of like a rematch. We have the NWA Women's World Championship between Natalia Markova and Camila. Now, we know the last time these two ladies tangled, it ended in a time limit draw, which is no good here in the States. Now, if it's in Japan, not much of a big deal. They're like, okay, it just ends that way. Nobody wins, nobody loses. But here in the States, it is a big deal because there has to be a winner. So you can say this is a rematch, but the obvious thing is now, how much has Camille has learned from that previous match? How much has Natalia Markova has changed since then? That is a very good question. I mean, I have to say, Markova really, really, really push Camille into her limit. But however, it was a spear out of nowhere that put away Markova, and 1, 2, 3, Camille remains as the one-time champ. So that's pretty good right there. Now our main event is the finals of the Crockett Cup. We have Mike and Knox and Murdoch taking on Blunt Force Trauma. This is a tough battle for everyone in this match. However, there was a moment where we saw the referee was taken out by accident thanks to Carnage pulling him in right in front of Murdoch and this and that. But however, that idiot Aaron Stevens tries to get involved to ensure the match falls in his favor. But what he didn't realize, he thought the match was done. They pinned him, nope. But apparently it was the high-low once again onto Carnage, giving Murdoch and Knox to become our brand new winners of the Crockett Cup. So basically, tough luck for Aaron Stevens. That's what he gets. So hopefully he learns his lesson from all this crap that he's been doing. So we'll see what happens then. So I believe we ended right here with some more reviews and move on with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So this is what we have. Now in Japan, there's been some recent developments that have been happening in two different promotions. We're talking about Diana and Pro Wrestling Wave. Apparently some guy has been causing some problems and they're trying to address the situation. Looks like they have some sort of harasser or some sorts. But both companies did apologize to their fans, people who watch their shows about the situation. Even fans who've been hearing about this, saying, I hope this guy gets what he gets deserved. Hopefully so, but I mean, we have that same kind of similarities here in the States. I don't know how delicate is down there in Japan, so we'll just wait and see until something is addressed. Now, for all you guys who are Ice Ribbon fans or just Yoshi wrestlers in general, there was a certain interview made for with Nao Ishikawa. Now, as you guys remember, a couple of months ago, Nao Ishikawa announced her departure from the promotion Ice Ribbon, and then we just recently saw her playing like the clone of Tam Nakano, try to play her doppelganger or whatever she was doing, and eventually she lost that match to Tam in New Blood 8. However, she did interview saying that she would like to continue participating more with Stardom. Now, there are many options she could have gone, but if she chose to go with Stardom, I say it would be a good opportunity for her, because the last thing she needs is, of course, the last time with the promotion she was in with Ice Ribbon, there was some sort of allegation she made towards the Ice Ribbon president, but I'm sure she will not have that. I'm sure there's going to be some tough negotiations for her to join the promotion, but we'll keep on top of that as soon as possible if more developments come in. Now, former ECW diva Francine is now under fire. Now, if you guys have been hearing, Dark Side of the Ring is back. They were talking about Chris and Tammy. Now, Tammy is in fact known as Sunny, but her real name is Tammy Lynn Sitch. Apparently, Francine was talking about her, but apparently, Francine was trying to explain certain developments about that whole episode, but apparently Tammy's boyfriend is threatening to expose Francine, saying that all these things are nothing but a lie. Um, we know that Tammy has been through various situations. She's been in trouble with the law in the past. Francine doesn't seem like she's trying to ruin anybody. I mean, look, she's only reporting what she already been hearing, talking about in her podcast, but seems like it's like that. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, she can address the situation. For all you Yoshi wrestling fans out there, if you're fans of or watch the promotion SEAdLINNNG, apparently they now set up their website into an English, um, you know, font for everyone. They'll have Japanese and English language, so you may click that one if you want it. I'll see if I can put that description down in below for everybody to see if you guys are interested. I think you can subscribe to watch many of their events. Dates back in 2021. I think it's like 999 yen. That would be like somewhere around maybe, I don't know, 15 bucks. You know what? Let me look it up real quick. How much is that in yen? It's like $7.60 US American dollars. So, well, I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what it is over there if you're planning to subscribe to the promotion SEAdLINNNG. So, you should check it out. Now, speaking of Yoshi, we have the Spark, Joshi Puroresu of America. They announced another match for their Ignite East that takes place on the 11th. We have Rina Yamashita will be in action to take on Masha Slamovich. That's going to be a good one right there. JCW, Jersey Championship Wrestling, announced for the Big Ass Extreme Birthday Bash. Takes place on the 9th of July. They announced Time Machine, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, and Kushida taking on East West Express, Nick Wayne, and Jordan Oliver. They team up with Lee Moriarty. Then GCW has announced for the Clean Up Now, for the GCW title will be on the line. Richard Holiday will be involved in that one, but however, a little interesting development, and I'm going to say this right now, spoil alert, I have not seen the recent two events because it leads to this. Blake Christian is the brand new GCW World Champion, which huge disappointment right there for me. But yeah. Now our final update for the West Coast Pro Cruel Summer that takes place on the 8th of July. The West Coast Pro Women's title will be defended Masha Stevens defends it against Trish Adora. I think that's going to be a good match to enjoy, and I think that's pretty much it right now. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, since we all know is Tuesday Wrestling. I haven't decided yet what else I'm going to do this. If there's any NWA going on, I'm not sure because they did not announce anything for Power. If there isn't, I'm just gonna just focus more on the NXT, and I am considering doing the much recent events of GCW. We're talking about Tournament of Survival 8 and Cage of Steel 2. So we'll just see what happens till then. But for now, I'll just end it right here for everyone. I'll say that I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.